All right, so here's a fun project. This kind of retro looking bicycle. Picked it up at the flea market for 95 bucks. I think I probably could have gotten it a bit cheaper, but this one is in really good shape, and you know, it's kind of a gamble, When am I gonna find one like this again without having to go somewhere and drive forever and a day to get it? So what I'm going to do is, until I figure out whether I'm going to do electric or gas or whatever to make it more like an old-timey motorcycle, I'm going to make a faux engine here. And I wanted to have a steampunk, locomotive kind of look about it. So I'm going to end up putting this brass urn or whatever it was, I'm not sure. I cut out a sleeve so that it can sit down over top of the center bars. We also have some really cool pieces here that are going to go along with it. So this is some sort of kid's gun. It's like air or whatever, but when you turn it upside down or barrel up, with a little bit of modifications and paint, it becomes a really cool smokestack, I think. I also got these lanterns real cheap at the flea market. Look at little boy over there. And I also picked these up when I was when we lived in Germany and in the Netherlands at the D.E.S.C over there, the Dutch European Steampunk Convention. I'll put a link for it right here because it's an awesome event. You should definitely check out. But anyway, these are going to be parts of my engine mock-up. I'll go here. So for now, it's still going to be a pedal bicycle. But I may end up adding an electric motor to it, or I may end up adding one of the 2 or 4-stroke motors that you can put in here. So here's a little bit of a mock-up already. I'm thinking about these 2 canisters back here having hoses that will get fed to some long like rocket exhaust. Part of it is I want to use this eventually down the road in the Flights of Fancy event, where one of the build-off challenges is to build a jet bike, a rocket bike. And so I think so far my engine is looking pretty slick. Obviously it just looks like a bunch of crap bolted onto a bin. I'll have to make some pieces to come kind of fill the part that I cut out here. But I'll cut that out of brass and then just rivet it to, but I like these kind of look like cylinders. Maybe I'll have to come up with something to push in and out. This will house my amplifier and battery that will go inside of here somehow. I'm gonna have a little smoke maker that's gonna sit down in this, and then smoke will come up, which will be terribly inconvenient to drive. But yeah, and then I added these 2 LED headlights here in the front. I think that's very, I don't know, to me it looks old school motorcycle. It bothers me that because it's bolted on here, I use the cup holder that was on this, so it's off center and kind of at an angle, and that kind of bothers me. But yeah, so if you can imagine that this getting cleaned up and painted red, the frame of the bike is going to be done up in either gloss black or satin black, and then the fenders as well. And then I will do take the tires off the rims, and I'm going to either do them completely orange, the spokes and all, but probably not. I'm leaning more towards a yellow or a red. So it's probably going to be red. I kind of have this thing for red rims apparently, but yeah. So Birdie, Dolly, here's my the start of my rocket steam whatever bike. So I stripped it down and I took the frame and the wheels into the paint booth and painted them. I think overall I'm starting to get that vintage, locomotive kind of themed look. I do have to take the frame and wheels back in and paint them because I'm seeing that I did a really poopy job. But I had to still mock it up so that I can try out. I swapped the fenders from a different bike. I like the kind of, you know, rusted chrome. My brother-in-law suggested I needed some kind of animal emblem or something on on that. So I found this Pegasus. I think that looks cool. And now I'm going to mock up the engine in place and then do the rockets that will be mounted here, and that's all going to be PVC pipe. So I've got a bit more mocked up now. The engine, the doohickey, found a cool gauge. I don't even know what kind of gauge this is for, but a cool gauge at the flea market. And I'm probably going to eventually put, you know, some strobing or flashing LED lights in here so this kind of glows. This was a candle holder that a lot of PSI gauges fit perfectly in it. And so this will get bolted to the side of the tank here, and then I'll run hose, you know, down and around. My rocket exhaust is PVC coming to a little T-junction there, and the two pipes coming back. And so they are being held on by this copper piping strap, which I like the look of. It bends pretty easy, and it should hold it up there pretty well. And these tips just look freaking cool. So this is going to get an acetone wash down and then painted. I'm going to paint it black acrylic, and then I'll probably go back and do brass or copper over top of that, even though that makes no sense for exhaust. And I also put on the chrome fenders from a different bike. These ones right here, I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with them. You know, I may end up using another copper strap to wrap around and then put a self-tapping screw into them, and then hoses coming from here. The whole premise of this vehicle is that it is a chemical combustion engine. So it is a chemical reaction of different things that causes it to go. The engine does not drive a wheel, but rather shoots out rocket like the back. This is just so when you're driving it around normal, at a convention or whatnot, you can do that. So this is my rocket bike so far, and now I need to disassemble all of this stuff and go and paint. This gets painted red, and these will get a different coat of red so that they're all the same. The frame has got to get some touch up done, and the yellow rims have got to get some touch up, and then this has got to get black. So, but all in all, I am really freaking happy with this, how this is looking. Oh, and I don't know if anybody picked this up, but this right here is a ceiling fan paddle. Like magic, it's all taken apart. Here's the frame with finally a good coat of paint. Here is my rocket exhaust and my headlights covers, and then my engine, which I gotta do a lot of brass polishing to get that cleaned up. There's a smokestack on the top, and then my nice pretty yellow rims. So, gonna take these down now and get them assembled, and the Rockabilly Mark 1 will be almost finished. Well, the steam rocket bike is coming together along nicely, but I'm just running out of time tonight, getting hailed to come home. But I like how the headlights turned out. painting that little toy gun red, really tied in the pieces on the engine. When I polish up that brass canister, it's going to look pretty slick. I like the dual headlights. Love my little Pegasus on the front there. And just started adding some of the gauges and stuff. These canisters from the D.E.S.C over in the Netherlands are working out pretty cool. These are some hoses from the sleep apnea machines, which is kind of gross actually when you think about it, but yeah, it's starting to come along pretty slick. My Rocket, and this is now definitely going to be called the Rockabilly, kind of a play on Rockabilly, but it's my Rockabilly rocket bike. Alright, so now as you can see, it is for this phase done, and by that I mean it will be an electronics phase where we wire up the LED headlights, smoke maker, and a sound system for sound effects. But for now, for the Steampunk Symposium, which is this weekend, and it is ready. So I gotta put some air on the tires. They're both flat, but I really like how the detail came out. One must always maintain accurate readings of one's pressure. The exhaust is actually duct tape I put lengthways and then sanded down, trying to make it look a little bit like heat tape for like motorcycle exhaust. You can see that, oh, I'm out of fuel. Damn, always happens. And I found these pieces right here are from a large lamp. A coat rack. And I've been dying to use them on something. And I did use them on the Slave 1, but there's so much going on there, kind of like this, that they get lost. But I think it's added just a cool curve, detail to the bike. And of course, we have our two-part fuel mixture here that is fed into back-fed to the fuel gauge, but the two components are going in here to the engine where I can adjust the ratio, and that chemical combustion is super powerful, and that's what builds up here. There's some exhaust ports, and I haven't figured out the backstory for what these things do other than they look cool, but that's what creates the thrust that shoots out and propels the Rockabilly forward. So should be interesting. I hope everybody at the Steampunk Symposium likes it, and of course for phase 2 in long run, this is going to be at the Flights of Fancy in New York, where Birdie and Dolly, the dynamic duo of trouble, are organizing what I'm told is a killer event. That'll do it for now. See y'all later.